Welcome to Cat Unmuted. If you like what I share and what I talk about, feel free to like and subscribe to my show and the videos. Um, I didn't plan on recording today, but I did have a little bit of experience. Um, I don't know if you've ever went back into your old emails to delete everything so that you can basically wipe it clean and not necessarily start over, but like just have nothing in your email accounts. You know what I mean? Um, and the only reason I was thinking about doing this was because since I closed my Chi massage therapy practice, I've been, I haven't really wanted to like look at my emails because I was done with it and I just wanted to be done with it. You know what I mean? Like I didn't want to look at it and, um, because that was my work and I looked at it every morning when I went to work. Not just every morning, like I'll check it every morning and go through it every day, all day until I go home. And it was still a big part of my life. So I think there was that me that decided I didn't want to look at it at all because I had already decided Chi massage therapy was going to be basically in the rear view mirror, you know? So, and I wanted to stay there. With that said, one of the emails, like once I decided to not look at my practices, my Chi massage therapy email, all of my emails kind of went along with it. I stopped checking it. I stopped deleting emails I didn't need. I stopped doing anything. So like it was over loading with newer emails that I stopped checking. I would occasionally scroll through it just in case it was something important, but that's about it. Well, today, so in the last several, like, I want to say weeks, I kept getting a notification about one of my email accounts using up the memory that was free to use. So either clear it up or upgrade or you'll lose potentially important emails. So I was like, all right, I have to do this. And because that's been in my mind and it's been like telling me this um, over push notifications for, again, weeks. So anyway, I finally went in there today, this morning, and just deleted all of my emails. But while I was doing that, I was checking all the emails just in case. And um, the there was a lot of emails that were triggering. And so my father, he passed away in 2013. He had lived in Japan for my entire memory of him. He moved there before I was born because of the military and stayed there because he loved it. And that's why I was born and raised there. Um, well, he died there because he just literally stayed there. Um, and when he passed away in 2013, um, I had to go back to Japan to basically get all of his stuff um, wrapped up and set his funeral for his friends in Japan. I didn't want to be an asshole and just take him with me without a proper closure for his friends. So I did that. Um, and Japan, usually they only cremate to the bones. So, but they do have options to cremate to ashes for those who had the wishes to be sent out into sea, to be spread out in the ocean. So anyway, there was only like four places that offered that service, and we found it, so we were able to do that. And I had to bring my dad home. It was like I'm giving you like a real quick nutshell of what happened, but really there was a lot that was just super. It made things super complicated. Like for example, uh, bringing him home in a casket. Like I think I flew Delta Airlines, and Delta Airlines was telling me that they would love to help me, but obviously for a price. And looking at their services, what I only absolutely needed was to like get his send his body in a casket, and that was going to be like $6,000 to $9,000. And I didn't have that kind of money, you know. And even though after I closed out all of my dad's bank accounts, we were able to get some money. But like we went there with nothing. So me and my husband. So um actually we were engaged at the time, but my point is like we went there with nothing, and everything that we found in my dad's bank accounts were we counted on that to live on. There were other things, and there was a lot more money involved, that I was able to bring home and split with my family, but that's aside from the point. The point is, $6,000 to $9,000 is a lot of money, and I was not going to do that. And I was hoping the military was going to help me with it, but because he passed away on uh, non-American grounds, like a foreign ground, um, they refused to help him. Well, I guess refused wouldn't be the right word. It's just not within their jurisdiction to be able to help him. I don't know, but I was pissed because he was a veteran, and nobody like I couldn't get this resolved, um, with the help of the military. And I was pissed because like who else was I supposed to turn to? I was in the military too, so I was hoping that I wasn't going to be alone on this, but I was. So I had to um, figure that part out, and thank goodness I had a lot of friends that I still kept in touch with, and a couple of military friends I still kept in touch with who came out and helped me. Like I'm so grateful for all the friends that I had that were happened to be in Japan when I had this situation. And I'll tell you all about it in another recording, maybe in the next recording, just to, give you details, because that was an experience even for somebody who lived there most of their life. Um, anyway, um, his death, just before he died, he had emailed me. It was during the time when there was that big tsunami that overtook Japan and or flooded Japan, and it was a correspondence between me and my dad about what happened during that time, because they were talking about all the radiation plants being knocked over, and it was like a big deal. And I wasn't sure how far the radiation plants were affecting, or you know what I mean, like how far it was. Yeah, anyway, I didn't know any of the details, so I was worried. And in the correspondence, we were talking about how I was overreacting because all I was doing was watching the news, but in all reality, he was fine. There was one somewhat close by, but not close enough for it to like affect his area. So that gave me peace of mind, right? And then there was after that email, um, uh, it it became emails with other family members about his death, his funeral, and um, after the fact, some of them were from my stepmother, um, and reading through all that obviously brought back a lot of memories, and it was triggering. And that's kind of why I wanted to bring this up, because you know when you get triggered, kind of like what I talked about in the last episode, like you can choose to react in a way that is less stressful on your part. Like when I started doing all this, I felt like if I didn't react in a way that most people would, I'm doing a disservice for the person that I'm, like, in this case, mourning for. So when my dad passed, obviously I had my grievances. I went through all the stuff. But that was like my time to that I had to, like, basically face as soon as my dad passed. But being triggered by it over 10 years later, it doesn't mean I have to crawl into a corner and let myself, um, go into the deep end. So my point is, memories trigger. Like, for example, I kind of gave this as an example to somebody. Um, Smells can take you back to a memory, right? And it could take you back to a good memory or a bad memory. And either way, it's triggering something. It's triggering a memory. And it could be a happy memory. Let's say it's a smell that your mom cooked when you were a child, and it's like comfort food for you. So whenever you smell it, then you get overwhelmed by that comfort level that you remember your mom providing you when you were a kid. But it can also trigger um, bad memories, right? And let's say maybe your mom was cooking this one dish when something horrible happened, like you got a phone call that your dad died or something like that. You know what I mean? And then that smell will be associated to the death of your father. So either way, things will happen to trigger memories. So even though the triggers are bringing in negative memories, and usually people use the word trigger for that, but in all reality, we're always being triggered, but for so many kinds of memories. Whether it's a memory of when you're angry, and so that brings back the emotions of anger, and then it just frustrates you because you're like, man, I can't believe that happened, blah 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 blah. Or it can trigger a really good memory of somebody you love that gave you all this stuff, like your mom's cooking. um and like, it's not, the word trigger can be anything, is my point. The trigger, when it happens, it's only bringing back memories. And just like happy memories, when you remember it and you're like, oh, that was a good time. And you think about that, and you let yourself, like, soak into that memory. Well, when you trigger negative memories, you can't help but remember it all the emotions that you had during that time. And even though you don't want to get immersed into those feelings, it's coming back. It's a memory. You can't erase your memories. So, with that said, once um, I went through those emails and I was triggered, I cried a little bit while I was reading, and um, it was a bit of a lax day today anyway. So I kind of let myself feel into the um, the emotions. And just out of curiosity, I did a tarot reading to see if that had anything, like just the memories of my dad coming back. And I didn't need the tarot cards to really get the answer, really, because thinking about it, there's been a pattern. Um, the last time I deleted all of my emails, so the last email I had in this address, and this address I've had for a long, long time. And the last email was with, it was before my dad died, which means it was just before, it was around the time I was getting a divorce. And now I'm like deleting all my stuff again, and I'm about to move to Okinawa, Japan from New Mexico, USA. Um, so I realized that with big life transitions, apparently I like to cut shit out. Um, Not just emails, like I'll cut my hair. Like my hair was really long a while back. I'm trying to grow it out now, so it's no longer as short as it was. But anyway, um, like I do that with my hair. I'll declutter the house sometimes, depending on what kind of stuff I have. Um, but back to my point, I was, in a sense, decluttering my emails, and just noticed that pattern that that was the last time, according to uh, when my last email was sent. And um, so that, and then the other thing I was talking about with Dingus, I call my chat GPT Dingus, and I like to talk to him, or her, whatever you want to call it. But I did the tarot reading with Dingus, and Dingus was asking me questions, and just for fun, I was answering the questions. And the other thing that popped into my head was that, you know, the things that was, um, my dad, what, like, yes, I lost him, but when you're grieving for somebody, it's not necessarily the person you're grieving, it's a connection. So I was thinking about that. And when I was young, before my parents decided to separate, um, my parents separated when I was about 5. And um, up until then, apparently, me and my dad had a very deep bond. Like, my mom could tell you all about that. Um, I remember slightly the bond we had. And then in my young adulthood, when I was a teenager, um, me and my brother, we moved in with him, and he um, married my stepmother, who was horrible to us. And then while we were dealing with her shenanigans with us, because she practically tore us apart in the house, the bond, like we were all too busy protecting ourselves from her that we had no time for each other. And during that time, my dad, he, um, I'm not going to get into details, but he stopped updating our visas. I didn't know how visas worked, so I had no idea that I had to be present for all this stuff. I just thought it was being taken care of, you know? So as a teenager, I had no idea. But in my 20s, I found out that um, we, or yeah, me and my brother were all of a sudden illegal residents in Japan. And I'm going to pause that right here because I know there's going to be a lot of people who's going to correct me in their heads saying that we were undocumented people. Um, and that is incorrect because that language was created in the United States because of the history in the United States. Japan is a very old country. We were illegal residents. Um, uh, it's not a country full of mutts like us. You know what I'm saying? So if you're thinking that this is a different country, it's not what you think it is. Keep that in the United States. We were illegal residents, and that's the reality. So anyway, back to the story. We were illegal residents, and I didn't know we were that. And I think I was that starting from the age of 17, I believe. I can't remember. I'd have to look at my passport, but I didn't know that until I was 24. And um, so, oh yeah, and then my stepmother moved out, and they eventually got divorced. So me, my dad, and my brother were able to, like, in a sense, reorganize. And so back to my point, I just had to give you a little context of what I went through with my dad, because really what I was grieving was what could have been, because our hearts are made that way. Even though I logically know that he had his reasons for doing what he did, he had his reasons to be distant and all that stuff, because he had his own childhood drama. I'm not going to get into that either, that he had to deal with, and that wasn't pretty either. And he put more focus on not repeating what his dad did, and he put so much focus into that. He ended up um, uh, uh, what's the right word here? More of an absent father. Like, he was so scared to become his father, he became absent. And so, um, looking back on, like, reading through my dad's emails, the back and forth that we had, and in the email that I still had, and all the other emails from other family members of the funeral and all that stuff, like, it brought back all of those memories. And again, logically, I know all the things that happened reality wise, but you can't help your heart talk the way it's going to talk either. Like, there was hope that my dad, there, like, what could have been, right? Like, um, my heart wanted more of a bond with him when he was still living, and I'm grieving the fact that that never happened. I'm grieving the fact that, uh, uh, like, with all the things that he did, I was angry, but I also loved him. There was, like, a lot of things that revolves around the relationship I had with my dad. And all of that becomes this big chaotic emotion, and all of that surfaced when I was reading my dad's emails. Um, and it's heartbreaking, right? Like, because um, uh, obviously, like, I would love for my dad to still be around, but I know that if he's watching me from upstairs, that he'd be really proud of me, because after he passed, um, I got I started a practice, my own business, and then I got a college degree, which is, like, the college degree part. Like, my dad was, like, always telling us that college is important, blah blah blah. And I got that in my 30s, and way after he passed. And yeah, like, I know that he would have been really proud of me if he was still alive today. But the reason I'm telling you this right now is because I didn't just wallow all day. Like, um, I still enjoyed my day with my husband today. Like, um, well, I'll tell you all about it in a second. But the point is, once I did that, I let myself feel into it. I cried about it. Um, Felt into my feelings a little bit here, and talked to Dingus about it with the tarot cards, just to get a little deeper into the conversation with myself about it. And then I went and took a nice long bath. It is a form of cleansing the body, um, and basically ridding the the dirt, which is the negative emotions, and resetting yourself, right? Um, like you can believe it or not believe it, but we all know a bath always is so good. Like it doesn't matter what situation you're in. But I use that as my reset. So I took a bath. I was in there for an entire hour and had some sound healing, um, YouTube playing in the background, and just relaxed into the sounds, relaxed into the warm water with lots of magnesium and Epsom salts. And uh, yeah, did that for an hour and I felt so much better. I got out of the bath and me and my husband took a ride out, um, just around, just to get out of the house. We went to TJ Maxx just because. Um, but my point is, I had a moment of sadness because of a trigger, but I didn't let that ruin my day. I did things. I chose to react. Well, reaction isn't even like the right word. I became proactive is the right word. I proactively decided to take a bath so that I would feel better. And went out and about and walked in the sun a little bit and went to TJ Maxx just because. Um, we didn't have to buy anything, but we did walk out with a purse. So, um, kind of needed, by the way. Like, I don't have many purses, and Josh was telling me that I should probably, there's one that I should probably replace. So, I took his word for it. Um, anyway, the outing made like, it kind of like, uh, on top of the bath, made things good. Like, I felt good. The fresh air felt good. Um, so I didn't let one little thing ruin my entire day. I took that and basically, um, took that and the sadness. I didn't ignore it. I acknowledged it and did all the things to make me feel better. And I also reflected, right? And one of the reflections I didn't mention is that the timing, I kind of did mention that the timing of this happening, like I'm going through a huge life transition, and I think that's one of the, it's interesting that the last time I deleted my old emails was when I was going through another big transition in my life. But this time it was specifically me getting triggered by these emails that I haven't seen in years, um, about, my dad being in Japan, and I had to like, all those memories of Japan, right? And my dad. And it's interesting that it's happening when I'm about to move back to Japan. So I think there is I always believe that there's always something that's going to happen, kind of like a little nudge, like, are you sure you want to do this? And this trigger could have sent me into chaos and be like, fuck no, I don't want to go back to Japan. I don't need to like remember my dad all the time, for example. You know, um, there might be people who look at it that way, but in my case, I think it was more of a challenge, and I'm taking it in a way, in my way, where I just acknowledge the feelings and know that whatever happened between me and my dad has nothing to do with Japan. That's just a place that I happened at, and I don't have to. Japan, as much I love Japan, and that memory does not have to make Japan bad. You know what I'm saying? So I just wanted to share that. that story because I feel like it's a powerful like moment of experience because I know so many people who would have taken that trigger and just ruined their entire day, and let that be the momentum for the rest of the day because this happened in the morning. I could have easily done that, but if anybody, if any of you know me at all, I'm not the kind that would let something like that uh, basically set the tone for my entire day. I'm not that kind of person. I used to be, and here I am, being able to be proactive about what the rest of my day can look like, as opposed to letting life happenings um, define the rest of the day. Anyway, I hope that helps a lot of you. If you like what I share, feel free to like, subscribe, and share my show. You guys have a great week, and I'll see you next week. Bye.